Welcome to Black Spring on your Friday. Now I have to say right off, this is quite the Friday. It seems like this country is about to implode in on so many fronts. And I would say it's a cultural front that I'm speaking of. And I just want to open up by saying, for starters, that the first thing that I would like to bring to you is the first thing I'd like to bring to you on this segment would be a bit of a change in tone from one of the most outspoken analysts or commentators on CNN. It seems that I can't say it's I can't, it started last year. Now, when I speak about this personality, the personality in question is actually it's Van Jones. Now, I've done videos on Van Jones previously, which kind of speak to the same sentiment here, that Van Jones's sentiment has started taking a turn, I think, last year, when the Criminal Justice Reform Act was really starting to get its, grasp the roots of the broken system that we're dealing with. And on this segment, I'm going to be sharing a clip with you first and foremost this morning. Shout out to Killer Whale. I thank you so much for joining me on this segment. You are first, Killer Whale, today. Thank you so much for coming in. Killer Whale Channels, ladies and gentlemen. So what I want to deal with, the title of this is Chaos, and Cultural Inflammatories. And I do think that we are in a state of chaos. We are. We can't, you can't catch your breath. And I want to welcome everybody or anybody that's coming into this segment of Black Spring with Autumn. I digress. I want to go back to where I'm starting today. It's going to be with Van Jones. Well, apparently Van Jones has made a statement which lends itself to the same kind of trajectory change that I was speaking of earlier. Shout out to the viewers. It's absolute pandemonium in certain cities. In some of these major cities, I will speak about the mayor of Minneapolis. And of course he's had, by now he's traded words and back and forth by now. Shout out to Chrysler Imperial H. Shout out to Gaming with Marco 2020. Shout out to Patrick Jane Forums, and shout out to Killer Whale Channel's Theology Forums, as well as Patrick Jane Forums. Thanks so much for coming in, guys. There's just so many things. It's a buffet. There's a smorgasbord of things happening in the country. And let me just get back to Van Jones. I just want to get back to Van Jones. I mean, I think I'm going to go ahead and release this clip that I want to share with you, and then we can dig in a little bit. We can dig in a little bit more on this. As always, I'd like to thank everybody for joining me on this segment of Black Spring with Autumn. Hope everybody's doing well. I'm going to bring you that clip. It's someone else actually shared this particular clip on Instagram, and I had a difficulty finding it for myself, but I'm going to bring it to you in the best format that I can. I'm going to squeeze it out as best as I can. So, once again, thank you for joining me on this live stream on this Friday. So this will be from CNN, and I hope you're tuned in, because Van Jones is making a huge This is a shock value. I'm saying, how about Van Jones for shock value on this clip? Thanks so much for joining me.
They're tired of people saying over again that we're just basically one bill away or one election away from some progress. It's not the racist white person who's in the Ku Klux Klan that we have to work.
Uh-oh. Sorry about that. A little bit of a technical there.
They're tired of people saying over and over again that we're just basically one bill away or one election away from some progress. It's not the racist white person who's in the Ku Klux Klan that we have to worry about. It's the white liberal Hillary Clinton supporter walking her dog in Central Park who would tell you right now, people like that, oh, I don't see race. Race is no big deal to me. I see us all as the same. I give to charities. But the minute she sees a black man who she does not respect or who she has a slight thought against, she weaponized race like she had been trained by the Aryan nation. A Klans member could not have been better trained to pick up the police and pick up her phone and tell the police it's a black man, African-American man, come get him. So even the most liberal, well-intentioned white person has a virus in his or her brain that can be activated at an instant. And so what you're seeing now is a curtain falling away. And those of us who have been burdened by this every minute, every second of our entire lives are fragile right now. We are fragile right now. We are tired. And so I appreciate people who've been reaching out. I've had,
Okay. So once again, I'd like to thank everybody for joining me on this segment of Black Spring with Autumn. If you are just now joining us, we are tuning in to a clip of Van Jones. It looks like I'm not sure what's going on with Van Jones, but maybe he has taken a page out of Malcolm X's book and decided he would, identify the liberal, or unmask, if you will. He's doing a bit of unmasking the liberal, the I don't know, can I say the more of the de facto kind of a racism or discriminatory racist. He's pulling back. He's pulling it off. And whether you have a strong stomach or a weak stomach for Van Jones, I at least have to applaud him for recognizing, or at least putting it out there, and of CNN of all places for this to appear on. I'm just thinking we're clearly in the twilight zone right now. But it's very interesting that he would unmask a Hillary Clinton supporter on CNN. So we'll see. I'm sure there's going to be, I guess maybe Van Jones is gonna, maybe he's looking for work, or maybe he's gonna accept that invitation that he received from CPAC, from the conservatives of the Republican Party, after the criminal justice reform panel during that time, because I don't think he's gonna have favor with that party or with that liberal progressive faction making a comment like that, because Hillary has been the source of pain and ill for them for a long time, since Trump won in 2016. So the fact that Van Jones made this statement is pretty staggering. Shout out to everybody in the stream. I'm going to take a pause from that. And just once again, welcome everybody into the stream. Shout out again to Killer Whale Channel. Shout out to Sean Steele. Shout out to Patrick Jane Forums. Nice to see you in the house, Mr. Steele. Shout out to Gaming with Marco 2020. Shout out to Patrick Jane Forums, Chrysler Imperial H. Chrysler has a comment here. Chrysler says, I heard rumors did the writing every major city. They're writing in LA. Yeah, I think it's picking up. I think if I'm not mistaken, I'm a little bit not sure, but I did hear that maybe even some people were busing. They were busing into these cities, and I'm just, and it kind of brings me on to my other point is that the mayor of Minneapolis, what this guy looks like. Maybe I'm paraphrasing. Let me misquote something I heard from a movie. A stiff breeze would knock him over. He looks like he could fall apart at any second. Like frail. I'm good. That's as generous as I can be. He is not. He is not. He started out with the whole racist narrative or the whole. He started it out, but even at that, he was trying to squeeze a tear out when this whole tragedy happened. It's pretty disgusting. You got that. That's your leadership. I mean, but hey, that brings me to the next clip. Shout out to, let me keep going with the shout outs. I'm getting more people in. Shout out to Derek C. Williams. You're late to the party. No, you're never late. You're always on time. It's always a good time to come in. You said you're watching from right. Thanks so much for coming in. Shout out to Jeremy Ark's vlog. If you guys could do me a favor or do the channel a favor, if you want to see channels like this and others survive, we are at war on these platforms. Help us by help Black Spring with Autumn, the channel, by clicking the like bell or something. I mean, please do, show me that you have a pulse and that that you came in today. I appreciate that. I think this is a time of boldness. I think there's a time of, I think some people we're going to see maybe a change in those that are taking more of a bold action. And so for those of you that are just now coming in, I'm basically responding to, for one, we started out on a clip of Van Jones calling out the Hillary Clinton supporter liberal. And I'm speaking, you gotta say, you gotta reflect, on some words of Malcolm X. I mean, maybe he's ready to pull the mask off, but at the same time, I don't know where he stands. That's the problem that I have with Van Jones. If you know there's an oppressive factor or a discriminatory factor or a destructive element, why are you supporting? Why do you seem to be so conflicted after all this time? There's a saying that goes, when you know better, you do better. So when are you going to start doing better? And that's the problem. He talks about, people are being tired of told we're just one election away from this and that. Well, I mean, what are you doing? You're saying the things, you're recognizing these things, but what are you actually doing? I applaud Van Jones for working with Republicans on the criminal justice reform, the First Step Act. And there again, I did do a video on that last year. And actually, you started to see a Van Jones trajectory change then. It was a change. In fact, he even said, he admitted it himself. He said, these Republicans, these governors, these cities, they're doing a better job with my baby. This was my project. I was supposed to champion criminal justice reform. Yet the Republican mayors and the governors are doing a better job at it. I think even that, it took a different fiber, I think, for him to come out with that kind of acknowledgement. So, well, this thing, like I said, we're bursting at the seams with the chaos around the country, whether it's via riots, whether it's, you got police, you got this police state mentality going on, even from the media. They're chasing people around, tyrannizing people if they're not wearing a mask, or, your neighbors tyrannizing you if you're not wearing a mask, riding a bike with your kid. We've got a lot of chaos and a lot of nuisances amid this pandemic. I mean, it just seems that the pandemic is on such fumes. Now we have something else, rising to the surface. So I'm telling you, you gotta hold on, because I don't think that this ride is far from over. Um, yeah, not to mention, I will get on to some other stories, but I want to share one other thing that I think is a parallel. I do think that the governor, not the governor, but the mayor of Minneapolis, I do believe he is quite weak. I think he goes by the name of, his last name is Frey. Jacob Frey, I believe, is the mayor of Minneapolis. Mayor of Minneapolis. So with that said, I want to bring you another clip. Hope everybody's doing well. So I'm going to tell you his actions resemble someone else. And I'm sure you guys have heard this name before. If not, we're going back to a bit of a if you remember the name Freddie Gray. We had that death and that situation. And you do remember the city in which that occurred. And you remember the leadership in which that took place. This leadership nurtures chaos and violence. And then who's to rebuild these cities? What is that the answer? Is that really the answer? Are we dealing with, like I told you, we talked about the auto rioter, the protester versus the auto rioter. A protest and a rioter are two different things. And you just keep going down, you just kind of keep going down to eventually you get to a faction after the protest that, this was something that was, building, and it gave people an excuse to do what they want to do. You're not going to affect there's not going to be any transitive change with that type of response. I mean, speaking of that, this is a thing, and we're talking a little bit in here about cultural inflammatories, and we're talking cultural unpleasantries. And I'm saying that I've got you guys in here today, but this is, you got to have I don't know if you need thick skin, I don't know what you need, but in this case, we're talking about these riots, and we're talking about how the media will never go into these communities, how the liberals will assist you in tearing down your own neighborhood. They will assist you in that. But how do you trust, if that's your position, how do you trust a person standing shoulder to shoulder with you tearing down your own community? I'm going to do a quick shout out to everybody that's in the chat. Shout out again to Patrick Jane Forms, Derek C. Williams, a comment. He says, sadly, we go through this dance every few years. Goodness, nothing will be changed. Yes, I can befriend my Caucasian brothers and sisters, but the dominant society will never yield power. Strong words, very, very strong words, and very real words, standout words from Derek C. Williams. Shout out to Derek C. Williams. You guys should get to know each other on this channel. As always, I encourage that. I just ask you to do it in a bit of a covert kind of a manner, if you will. But this, even though it's not a growth stream, you can still network with people. Just keep it down. So Jeremy Arc says this country has gone further into hell. We're definitely searching. Shout out to Jeremy Ark's blogs. Derek C. Williams says, we all know the history of our country, and with all the power of the U.S. government, it doesn't seem to have the resolve to really address and repair America's racial problem it created. Very real, once again, too real, as they say. And shout out again from Derek C. Williams. He says Mary Shelby, the former Tulsa deputy sheriff, shot Terrence Crutcher on a highway like a dog. Record of the incident erased, and she now teaches somewhere in Tulsa. Yikes! But you know that. But you know what? Speaking about that, Derek C. Williams, that seems to be a trend as well. We have these figures that go out. They're walking contradictions. They go out and do the opposite, or they go out and purport. They do one thing, and then they say another, or vice versa. They don't. They are not. They are do as I say. Culture. You know, they're just. You know, maybe the mask can come off. Shout out to Patrick Jane Forums. Also, Derek C. Williams says EMT Breonna Taylor of Louisville shot in her own home. The police broke into her home. Well, you know, it's just a string of these. There seems to be a string of things going on, and I just don't think. It's just there's a lot of work to be done. A lot of work to be done. And where do we start? I don't even think we've scratched the surface. We have not. The leadership is not there, for one. And there's just a lot of work to be done. So I want to show you something else. Let's see. I want to show you this kind of sentiment. Shout out to everybody in the stream. I really appreciate everything. So I'm going to show you this one. Appreciate everybody for being in the stream today. I really do. Shout out to Chrysler Imperial H. Shout out to Derek C. Williams. Shout out to Killer Whale Channels. I really appreciate everyone. This is such a loaded time. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and play this first clip. This comes from the Baltimore mayor, former Baltimore mayor Stephanie Rawlings Blake, which this is the culture of rioting that I'm speaking about. So I'm going to show you. This is the riot culture, the leadership in these cities. It's just gross. It's, you know. Who can they turn to? Thank you, everybody, for joining me on this segment of Black Spring with Autumn.
Questions. I'll just start off by saying, as far as the police response, the police has done, I think, one question and answer this evening, and will continue to make themselves available for updates on our public safety response. This is about our call for peace in the city, so we'll be taking questions about that. Any questions? Well, we've had these types of conversations before, and I've made it very clear that I worked with the police and instructed them to do everything that they could to make sure that the protesters were able to exercise their right to free speech. It's a very delicate balancing act, because while we tried to make sure that they were protected from the cars and the other things that were going on, we also gave those who wished to destroy space to do that as well. And we worked very hard to keep that balance and to put ourselves in the best position to de-escalate, and that's what you saw this evening.
So there you had the former mayor of Baltimore during the Freddie Gray death. this is the thing. It's also speaking to the levels, to the kinds of corruption that you have. These are, I thick skin or not on this channel. These happen to be these. They happen to be Democrat cities, Democrat run cities, and the leadership it's not there. It's not there. They have to keep you in line enough to keep it going. They've got to keep it going. I mean, here, let me show you this. Now, here's another example. These are the kinds of things that you're not going to see. This is why I thought that YouTube and social media, of course, that situation is under fire. It's under fire with the amount of censorship that goes on, because they will not go into these communities. Now, I want to show you another example here let me take some comments here. Shout out again to everybody in the stream. Hi, Keith the Faith. How are you? Nice to see you guys. He says, Kizzy Adonis, the senior police officer on the scene during the Garner case, a black woman that could have done something and didn't. Let's see. Keith the Faith says she advocated it. Derek C. Williams says, blowing off steam when you riot, ridiculous. Let's see. Derek C. Williams, white Dylan Noble shot to death by black Fresno policemen. Wonder why CNN don't push that shooting in the manner they did with Zimmerman and Trayvon Martin. Derek C. Williams says no one talks about the black George Zimmerman, Roderick Scott. I wonder. Keep the face. Some of these black women are indifferent to the death of Mr. Floyd because he had a white fiance. That is so nice to see you, Keith. I saw something of that kind of sickness. I think I saw, something like that on Instagram. I didn't know, I don't know that many personal details about Mr. Floyd, and I do believe his death was murder. I do believe that it ended up murder. It may have, wherever it started, by the time it was done, I do believe it ended up being a murder. But what I want to say also is that you're not going to change. We cannot change anything if the indoctrination of people, if the indoctrination continues, if the demoralization of black people continues, if the destabilization continues. And I'm saying that coming from, if the black community alone is destabilizing their own communities, and if they are demoralizing their own people, then you got to start at home. If you don't start at home, where else, who is the public fully responsible for our logic? Just take it out. Okay? So I'm going to go into another clip in which you will not see this on mainstream TV. This is absolutely disgusting. This is the thing that people don't see. This is what's not, you will never see this covered on CNN. You will never see it. So let me bring that to you. Once again, shout out to everybody that's in the stream. We've got a lot of I think there's a self-hating factor. There's a lot of psychological. I'm like, when are they going to send some mental health into some of these places? Because, sometimes we need help. That's another elephant in the room that no one talks about. In fact, we're in the months of this is like mental health month. Awareness. It's an awareness month. But there's a stigma to mental health. There is a stigma to mental health. That alone, there's just so many underlying issues. But you got to build your own people up. You have to build your kids up. You have to teach them responsibility. You have to teach them to take responsibility. You have to teach them to get up when they fall down. If you fall down 2 more times, well, guess what? You have to get up 2 more times. And I'm just saying, as a black American in this country, I wasn't to think this culture now and all this whining and whimpering and crying about the you've had class struggles throughout civilization. We've always had class struggles, but I was not taught to. I was taught to be thankful for what I had. I was taught to be thankful for what I had. First. That was always first. And I took that same philosophy if I went to somebody's house. If they happen to have more than the other friend's home, whatever I'm thankful for what you've given me. But I'm not angry because I don't have more, or because this person had more to give me on the last. I was always taught to be thankful for what I had, and to do as much as I can do individually to increase my lot, whether that be education wise or whether that were career wise. I mean, I never bought into the idea that somebody of another background can merely hold me down. That's a strong statement. And when I hear men say something like, if you're a man and you're saying that another person, okay, I'm not denying that things can be that there's institution, or that there's some level of social construct that you might have some challenge. I also call that competitive. I also say that that's a competitive factor. I wouldn't say that I don't know, I can't fully say that I think it's a total institution. I just say that you have to work hard. I have to work harder. I have to work harder to strengthen my own individual weaknesses. And if I've done all of that, then I'm still gonna question, I'm still gonna challenge what you tell me. I know everybody that's in this stream, everybody's got their own individual and personal experiences. I'm I don't want to go too personal, but my family, I have Southern roots. And they're deep Southern roots. And when I say deep, I'm saying deep, and I'm deep South Southern roots. I know what it's like to grow up in a small town. I know what small town, the class and that class knots. I know what that is. But then, you can also, you have to, you gain wisdom with experience and with time. I mean, I've got friends of all backgrounds. I've got friends that turned out to not be so friendly, but I've also got friends that had less than I did. I had friends that slept on floors and borrowed clothes, or clothes were donated to them from their neighbors, all the way down to their underwear. So, with that said, I didn't mean to go on that tangent, but hang on just one second. I'm going to give you this next clip. This clip is the cancer within, is what I'm saying. A lot of these problems are inside of the community. Inside. You can we can talk about a lot of people. We can talk about the white liberal. We can talk about this kind of liberal. We can talk about this kind of progressive. But what are we doing? Looting and rioting. You're not doing that for the memory of the slain George Floyd. You are not doing that. So please put that flag down, because you're misrepresenting him. And to me, I think it's offensive to his family. In fact, I'll give you another. If you guys were on the other day, I think some of the younger leaders that are running for office right now, if you guys were on the other day, Joe Collins, that was on my show the other day, I think maybe he and some other some other, aspiring candidates for Congress are going to go. I think I'm not sure what they're planning, but obviously there is a need for leadership. I'm not sure what the plan is, but I think it's a standout thing. I think it's a standout thing for another generation. I think it's going to have the change is going to have to happen with the new generation, not the weak. It's not going to be for the weak. There's a culture that we have that wants to, effeminate everything, make men somehow more feminine, wants to weaken the man. I don't have a problem with the man opening a door for me. I don't have a problem with the man holding a car door for me. Is it required? No. I don't have a problem with that. But I'm also not going to tell a man, well, you're not crying hard enough when we watched that movie last night. I'm not going to tell him, well, you're not sensitive enough if I have an erratic emotion, once a month. I'm not going to tell a man that because he's a man. There's a natural authority and we're not the same. No matter what you identify with, it's not the same. If I'm walking to a door with a bunch of boxes, I don't mind. It's nice, it's refreshing to see a man that does that. It's rare, but it's almost like the man and his spirit and his natural authority has become an endangered species. It's because this culture, this generation is being taught that masculinity, what do they call it? Toxic. They got this wordsmithing that they do. They come up with all these little terms. What is it? Toxic masculinity. There's something wrong with being masculine. There's something wrong with kids wrestling each other down to the ground. Well, as a kid, when I saw a boy and a boy wrestling each other down to the ground, I just got out of the way. I didn't, accuse them of being too strong. Not to mention, I was a bit of a tomboy or something as a kid. If I was trying to climb a fence, I also didn't mind that same boy helping me get over the fence. So no, you go ahead and do your wrestling down to the ground because that is your natural. That's your natural. That's you, and that's the making of a boy or a man in his purest form. So, my gosh, I am on a tangent, but thank you guys so much for being in the stream. Shout out to Derek C. Williams. Let's see. Derek C. Williams says, I'm sorry, some of these comments are getting held. I'm not holding them, by the way. I'm not sure why. Shout out to Keith the Faith. He says some of these black women are indifferent to the death. Okay, I got that one. Samuel DeBose shot down on camera in Cincinnati, and that policeman straight lied. Straight up murder, and those who may be indifferent are idiots. Let's see. They also said they didn't care about the Kobe tragedy because his wife isn't black, but they weren't checking for Kobe on his way up. Thanks so much, Keith the Faith. I really appreciate it. Keith the Faith says no excuses. Right on. He says they don't care about George. No, they don't care about him. They don't care about George Floyd. They wanted to come out, and here's another thing. You gotta see this. There's with people being out of work, people don't have anything else to do. And there's also a saying that goes by somebody anonymous: when people don't have anything to lose, they lose it. So they're willing to lose. These people are willing to lose the store that they have to shop in. They're willing to lose the postal office. I saw a van being mutilated and vandalized. So let me move on here. I'm sorry. I'm getting there's just so much going on. I'm going to try to do my best to try to keep it stay focused here. I chose this platform for that reason, but here again, let me show you this video clip. This clip that you're about to see here again, you will not see it on the CNNs and these places. You won't see it, but this was posted by somebody else, and I just want to share it But I can see the pain in somebody that's worked hard, that's established their lives, and they came out of dark times too.
Understand that. Come on. It's not right. It's not right. It's not right what y'all doing. I came from the ghetto too. Same as all of you did. Y'all need to listen. But y'all messed up my business. And you call it black power. You mad at the white man. Why destroy my business? Why destroy my truck? Why steal my computer? I'm trying to make it. But you understand that? Can't y'all see it? I'm trying to make it. Just, I can't hear you. If you didn't think it's too damn bad. But don't destroy my stuff.
Once again, I'd like to thank everybody for joining me on this segment of Black Spring with Autumn. So there is another example of the black community themselves being outraged by the destruction when these riots happen. He said, you call this black power. You're angry at the white men, but what did you just do to my things? And you will never see that. You will never see that. You will never. The reflection was real. When I thought about this, it's like, okay, we're going to get to some kind of the LA riot, the post-Rodney King verdict. We're going to get to those proportions because nothing has changed. Nothing. There you had a black business owner saying, hey, I came out of the ghetto too. I tried to make it. You just destroyed my business. He was carrying a hammer. Because it's like you gotta fight off the wolves. They're around you, your own people are around you like sheep all the time, but they become wolves. In fact, I think I was watching the riot, some of the coverage there. I think there's even, I may even be able to bring you that later. There was a minority in Minneapolis actually right on, Derek C. Williams, exactly. They're cannibals. You become a cannibal. It's a sickness. It's got to be an absolute sickness. There was somebody in Minneapolis posted a sign outside of their business saying, I'm a minority, basically saying, this is exempt my building from your riot and looting. I don't know if he was successful with that, but that is, like I said, I don't know when is somebody going to talk about the other elephant in the room. This is not mentally healthy when you are self-destructive. Derek C. Williams, shout out to you. Patrick Dane Forum, shout out to you. Derek, I'm going to start at this comment where you mentioned we are men and are different from women in a natural order of things. Only the, quote, higher species, end quote, man that wishes to turn nature on its head. Keep the faith says, I remember that so sad. Derek C. Williams is mad at the white man, but feed on themselves. That's poetically true and harsh, disgusting. Racism has a brilliant way of having many of us coming and going. I'm just thinking, like in LA, I saw there were people sitting on top of police cars while the car was moving. And all of this is for George Floyd. When is somebody going to talk about the sickness, the mental sickness of this? Because you could talk about all these other factors all you want. But it has to be talked about. It has to start not just a conversation, but it has to stop. I mean, yesterday I witnessed children at the riot. And then of course the media put the microphone on the kid. How do you feel? Oh, I'm out here to fight racism. Da, 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 da. I'm like, you're 8 years old. You're 9 years old. You may know that something's going on wrong, but there's also a little bit, who are your parents? Now you got kids. It's like they're passing. It's a transgenerational destruction. Shout out to you, Derek C. Williams says, I understand that someone was killed during that protest for Floyd. Yeah, I'm telling you, you almost, if you keep a drone on the situation, I think you could just it's just very sick. I'm also hearing that people are being bussed into some of these cities. I think Denver, I think LA, Minneapolis. I'm sure the number of the cities are growing, and I don't know what it's going to take, but to me, the mayor of Minneapolis, I have that clip for you as well. I'm going to bring you the clip of the mayor of Minneapolis. I'm going to bring you that clip. Just 1 second. I'd like to thank everybody for joining me on this segment, Black Spring. Shout out to Patrick Jane Forum's Killer Whale channels, as well as Keith the Faith. And also, please keep in mind, I am running there will be more things on Patreon to come up. If you want to check out Patreon, there's some extra perks on Patreon. This is the home base without a doubt, but there will also be some extra things there, some behind the scenes things there, exclusives on, other things there. So you might want to go over and check it out. Just check it out, Thank you so much, Derek C. Williams, for your support. I really appreciate you for sharing out the stream. I really appreciate that. So there you have a Patreon link there. Also, let me share this stream with you, share this clip that I have for you. I'd like to thank everybody for joining me on this segment of Black Spring with Autumn. Now, this is coming from Jacob Frey. Apparently, he's reacting. He looks pretty reactionary. He looks pretty weak. Not only does he look weak, his statements are weak. He's all liberal, all liberal, he's got his talking points down. Okay, a little bit buffering there. This is actually coming from CNN, of course. Let me see what happened there. So this is...
At Hyundai, we've always...
Sorry about that. I'll get you through that commercial and we will play it. I'd like to thank everybody for joining me on this segment of Black Spring with Autumn. If you could please hit that like bell. Like that like thumb or unlike, and yeah, if you could do that, that'll be great. So almost to the end of a commercial here, but we're going to show you, this is a Minneapolis mayor shakes his head over Trump's weakness. Talk about projection, right? This is radical.
President's tweet here, he sent out two
He looks like he's about to cry.
Personally attacking.
Isn't that sad?
Second one,
Can you read it?
Just spoke to Governor Tim Walz, and I told him that the military is with him.
This is the man in front of all this.
We will assume control, but when the looting starts, the shooting starts. This is the President of the United States tweeting just a little bit ago. What's your reaction to that?
What was the other tweet?
There was an earlier one calling you a radical leftist and a weak mayor, and to get things under control. And I have it here. I can't stand back and watch this happen to a great American city. A total lack of leadership, says the president. Either the very weak radical left mayor Jacob Fry get his act together and bring the city under control, or I will send in the National Guard and get the job done right. That was the first of two tweets from the president.
Well, let me say this. Weakness is refusing to take responsibility for your own actions. Weakness is pointing your finger at somebody else during a time of crisis. Donald Trump knows nothing about the strength of Minneapolis. We are strong as hell. Is this a difficult time period? Yes, but you better be damn sure that we're gonna get through this.
I don't know if you guys are you guys getting a sense of leadership from that? He looks like he's about to come undone. Looks like he's about to come off the rails. And I don't mean, he looks like he's about to cry. Okay, I'm going to show this. I'm not sure why that's breaking news. I understand 7 people were shot in Louisville during Breonna. That's horrible. Okay, let me show this one. This is Keith the Face says, that's why I offend people when I call black trash Park Apes IDGAF. I'm very non-politically correct, and the majority of blacks are not going to change. It is over. Shout out to Sandy K. How are you doing, Sandy K? I'm going to tell you the truth. You know, if something happened in my neck of the woods, I mean, who do you want? Who do you want? It's like, it's like, you know, in the schoolyard, you know, if something goes down, who do you want on your team? Do you want somebody whimpering, somebody whimpering, whining and crying, or do you want a strong, somebody that's assertive and authoritative, that's going to step up and do something and not be at the verge? This guy's on the brink of tears. And believe me, I don't believe his tears wouldn't have anything to do with George Floyd either. Yeah, I'm so sick of this whole, shout out to you, Sandy K, hanging around. There's just so many things going on, and I thought maybe I would cover some things. So these are inflammatory things, and many people don't like to hear the truth. Some people don't believe in truth. You know, they don't. It's, you know, I don't know. They also deny history and other things that are factual, that but they can't change them. They probably can't explain why they can't not change those things. But they're pretty upset about, you know, the truth. The truth is the enemy. So yeah, we were just, you know, just doing a little bit of contrast at the whole culture of the rioter versus the protester, the, you know, erratic emotions. You know, you can't have a tantrum and destroy things, and even as a kid, you can't tear things apart in your room after somebody else actually did something wrong, and then expect, because now we have to pay attention to the destruction. We got to spend more time on the destruction than on the actual problem that was created, or the actual offense that was created. And there again, like, where are you going to shop? Where are you going to go to the doctor? Where are you going to go, and where are you going to get things from if you destroy? So I'm just saying, you know, I do not support any form of looting or rioting. In fact, I heard, if you just think about the mentality, I mean, there was a person on last night talking about, how this is what we're doing, and we're not even, this is not the old school. This was a protester. I mean, protester. No, a rioter, a looter. She was saying we're not qualified to tell these kids what to do, how to riot and how to make things happen, but they're gonna make things happen with this. This is what they're doing, and I'm not qualified to tell them that this is not the way. This is, she says, this is, she professed, this is not the civil rights. Da, da, da. Well, I have my own issues with the civil rights. Everybody flies under the civil rights banner, okay? So I don't really understand when people try to say that that's, when people make that argument, oh, well, you know, civil rights. Well, who's not flying under the banner of civil rights? You got the LGBT community under that banner, and whatever other letters they're getting ready to add, because they have. You have every civil rights were for everyone, right? That's a government granted right, and it has to be renewed. Like your car, your registration, like your car insurance. So, but I don't, when people talk about tangibles, a government granted right is not a tangible. It's a con. Especially when everybody benefited from it. Your human rights would be higher than those. That's my story. I'll stick to that. That's my position on government granted rights. Civil rights. In some ways, I don't think that. The thing about it is many people don't know the histories of the parties. They don't know they talk about, oh, there was a switch, and then they can't prove that. They can't prove where was the switch. When was it? Who switched? Every now and then you have somebody, every now and then you have one person that might go over to the Democrats, or one person that goes over to the Republican Party. It's just that the history, not propaganda history. I'm saying it has to be, we have to get real history. We have to get beyond the propaganda. And I don't know when the people that are, if one faction is writing the book, then they're going to write the history on they're going to write the history to their advantage, to keep their agenda going. So who can you trust? Who can you trust to put the history out there? Yeah, in my history book, they talk about two parties, but just barely. I don't even know if I can say that. I'm not even sure I remember them talking about the values or the core or the principles of the parties. I mean, is there a Democrat manifesto somewhere? Is there a Republican Conservative Party manifesto somewhere? Communist Party had a manifesto. But we don't have that. But we do have some people that believe that there was an actual switch. We have, and then some people don't even say that. Some people don't even say that there was a switch. They just kind of go with what's popular. Well, hey, my friends over here said that I'm going to go with them. You're wrong. So it's just, I mean, there's a lot of inconsistencies out there, not just one. There's many. But how do we get to the facts? Is it the owner that owns the information? They can bend it all they want. So it's, I just think that there are social constructs and there are institutions which have deceived us. But you have to be curious in order to go to get more. You got to be curious about whether you heard or what you read, and then you're going to be curious some more and dig a little bit deeper. You have all kinds of, like I said, I mean, I didn't have an actual, I didn't grow up with a political family. I did not. But I tell you what, you can't afford to not know what's going on, is what you can't do. Derek C. Williams says, but who struck the match to light the fire? That is, it's, there's definitely, that's definitely a huge spectrum there, Derek C. Williams. A lot. Tons. There's tons. But I know for me, I cannot support self-destruction. I mean, I've given things and I will continue to give to those who are working with what they have, and they just they might need a little something else. Sometimes we all do. You need something, you just need it. You just need it. It's not about judgment. You just need something when you need it. So do I have the answers for everything? No. But can I recognize when something is not productive? I mean, I'm gonna tell you now. Here's the other thing. Now, I don't know whether here I'm going to be political for just a second here. Now, I know I follow a lot of conservatives, and I follow a lot of I follow them for perspective. But here's the deal. I don't think that we should. You have people that speak about the president as if he's like the savior. And when something doesn't quite go wrong, oh my God, there they go. I'm sorry, he's a man. He's a man. He's a man. I've seen that. I've seen all kinds of things. I'm not a loyalist, and I'm not bashing. But if I see something that I think that doesn't quite that's not quite on the level, or that goes against something, then I'm going to call it out. We say we want less government, but then we get it. We have people that say that they're not into socialism, but then they take a bailout when they get a chance. So shout out to everybody in the stream. Shout out to Derek C. Williams. Until there is top-down repair on a grand scale, we'll have more of this. Anyone who has paid attention to history knows this to be true. Right on. Right on. It's very true. But it's, the point, I think that my thing on this stream was to the chaos. The chaos is going to continue. And I'm under I also am under a bit of the mantra that we are actually not in control. We are not. We are not in control. I think, and to me, what did we learn? What did we learn from this whole thing, this whole pandemic or the pandemic? What have we learned from it? We have people that play we have people that play the masters of the universe. They're doing it right now. They have their own legions, they have their own armies, and they are at work all of the time. They are at work all the time. So I'm probably going to wrap up this stream. And I don't know if does anybody have any, and I never do Q&As. I never do Q&As. But I don't know if anybody has anything else they want to contribute on this stream. So I think that was just generally, honestly, with all the things that are going on right now, I could probably go on for a long time, but I hopefully, and this was the other point. I'm probably going to continue to follow some of these stories, because I don't know. I really don't know what's going to happen. I don't know how much of the rioting is going to be, how are they going to be able to cull that? Are they going to be able to squelch this thing? I don't know. I do know that there's a faction. There's people that are there are people that are frustrated. Yes, I think as Americans, I think America is frustrated. Let's see. So we have. Oh, thanks so much, Derek C. Williams. I really appreciate this. Really appreciate your support. Shout out to you. Derek C. Williams is a fantastic content creator, and you guys should definitely check out his page. I really appreciate him and all that he does here on Black Spring and him being here. He's a fantastic content creator. We have Keith the Faith here. We have Sandy K. We have, shout out to you, Sandy K. If there's anybody that I'm not connected to, just let me know. Just put a 1 or something in the stream. I'll go on and check out your page and see what's happening. Because usually I think that most people that are on, that we have some connections. We met up somewhere in the public square, if I can say. We met on the public square called YouTube, somewhere in the world or across platforms. Let's see. Let's see. But I will say this. I want to say this. That I do think that I do think that I would like to see a new and this is a cultural kind of thing that I'm saying. In the Black community, I would like to see establish new conditions for our future. And I think it should start in the homes. It should start in the schools, but it has to be, as Derek C. Williams so eloquently said, it has to be top down. That has to be top down. It has to be it's probably going to have to be top down, because on the local levels, when I say that, I don't mean to say, I'm not saying government governing over us. I am less government. No, least amount of government is what I'm an advocate for. But down to the cities, the power, I think our civic power starts at our county seats, city seats, and it goes up. The further away the power is, the less accessible it is. So I think we have to start in the cities. We have to start in. I refer to the platform as, quote, their tube. Well, right. But I will tell you this, shout out to Derek C. Williams on that point. I will tell you, I will tell you that I've noticed a little bit of difference since Trump mentioned the executive order, and I have my feelings about that. I think that is, I don't have all the answers, but I do believe that it might, we're not going to have him in the office forever. So I don't know what it's going to mean when it's in somebody else's hands. See, that's the problem. Who owns the Republican Party? Who owns the Democrat Party? So every time we're free all until we have until the hands change again, right? It's like we're just free enough to know that we're not. It's like, but I know maybe I'm not being clear here, but I just think that if we're either going to be free in this country or we're not. Either we have free speech or we don't. And if these companies want to ride under the flag of platform versus public or publisher, I don't know how they're going to, how that can be. I don't know how they're going to do that in a way that's not going to have everybody, I think that's going to be, it's going to end up being a suppressing thing, or it's going to be taken to on speed level when the power changes, when it changes hands. I don't know. I will say that'll be another segment that I'll do, maybe on that whole 203 section. I mean, because I think like Zuckerberg, maybe he's gone to Congress and flip-flopped. He flipped for whatever he needed to do, for his own advantage. And yeah, so I really appreciate everybody on this segment of Black Spring. Let's see, who else do we have in here? Sandy K, shout out to you. I'm going to shout out to everybody. I don't know if I have a final clip. I do think that's it. There were some other things I wanted to get into, but I will do that on another segment. I will say this in support of a measure. I do think that the president he's given I'm pretty sure he's given the WHO organization the axe. So I guess, the globalists are probably not happy about that. But then you got to look at that organization. The Director General Tedros Adhanom. I mean, he's been being investigated by other heads of states, and he's under for covering up other pandemics or epidemics or outbreaks. So I'm just thinking, I'm not surprised, but what would be far more reaching is, okay, then the UN has to be next, because I think the UN was established post World War II, but I think their agenda was started with an N and ended with something else. And that's another segment as well. So I won't go into the WHO, but I do believe he did a press conference on withdrawing the funding. Because it's one thing that, President Trump has been, the private citizen Donald Trump has been consistent about America being taken advantage of. And I have no problem with anybody that's going to stand up for America. I don't have a problem with that. It's just that we have there again, the government, we have so many foreign entanglements and so many things that we are entrenched in. And a lot of it, the American people don't even know anything about it. We don't know where our tax money has gone. We don't know where Social Security money has gone, but we're about to find out. So yeah, I was pretty much done, and I'm going to put a couple of things in the stream. So once again, shout out to everybody for joining me on this segment of Black Spring with Autumn. Let's see, a shout out to you, Derek C. Williams, for your support and also sharing out the stream. Derek does live streaming as well, so you want to go on and don't miss his live streams. I mean, Derek brings it to you straight ahead, and I think he's more than admirable, and I'm always happy to have him on and happy to have his support. So let me do this. Okay, so here we go. I'm going to drop Derek's link into the stream. Probably drop one other link into the stream. Shout out to you. Okay, so this is Derek C. Williams's link. So yes. Shout out to you. Thanks so much for all your support. As well as, I don't think Brett's Gaming is in here. So there's actually going to be Brett's Gaming is the other stream I'm going to drop. Link I'm going to drop. And then the other will be one other. We'll have one other after that. I appreciate everybody for coming on to this segment of Black Spring with Autumn. Please leave your comments and concerns in the stream, and also even for those listening in replay. I really appreciate you for coming on and hanging out with us here on Black Spring with Autumn. I know this is these are the kinds of things, these are some people might say this is family talk kind of stuff. Well, yeah, it is, but we need to we got to do a little bit better. We got to get a little bit of reinforcement, or at least just bring it out. Just bring some of these things to the table. Okay, so this is Brett's Gaming. Thank you so much for my supporters on this stream, and also shout out to Chrysler Imperial H. I appreciate you for all you do. Very hardworking. Chrysler also has great content on his stream, and he does live streams. So you want to check him out if you're a part of his channel. You want to make sure you've got notification bells on. Make sure you have notification bells on for everybody, because they've, as they say, I don't know if they might not say this anymore, but they changed the game. They keep changing the game on us around here. I think it takes almost 12 hours to see a live stream pop up. That's my experience. But I'm saying a live stream post. So this is Chrysler Imperial H. And I really like that. I really like the tag, Derek C. Williams, their tube. Every time you say that, it's wow, that is so true. That's been true for a long time. Let's see. So shout out to Sandy K. Shout out to Keith the Faith. Keith, that is wicked. Keith the Faith. But I like it for sure. Shout out to Killer Whale Channels. Was the first one in today. Appreciate that, Killer Whale Channel. So actually, I'm going to drop your link as well. And then I think that's going to wrap us up. The next stream I do will be, it probably will be on the StreamYard platform. Ay. Channels. It will be on that platform. All of the platforms are great, but this one I can kind of get around a few more pages with this one. Hang on to that one, Derek C. Williams. Don't let that one get away. All right. So I'm sure there'll be other things going on and other responses or whatnot. This, to me, this was more of a commentary kind of a stream. It was, yeah, it was like I said, it's inflammatories and unpleasantries and chaos, and that's going to continue. But I just thought that, you know, we're still at the beginning of this chaos, of this specific, this little enclave of the protest turned to riots and looting. That's still kind of a bit of a new enclave. Shout out to you, Sandy K. Shout out to you. I'm pretty sure I'm subscribed. I'm gonna make sure I got the notifications on. So yeah, check out all the subscribers and channels in the chat. Great content creators all the way around. Great supporters of the channel. We have super supporters on the channel. Make sure I don't miss anybody in the stream. LaShawn Steele, shout out to you. That is a long time associate. Shout out to LaShawn Steele. Shout out to Patrick Jane Forums. Shout out to Gaming with Marco. I'm going to have to check you out for sure. I'm going to make sure that I'm on your channel. Usually I think I am most of the time, but Chrysler Imperial 8, shout out to you. And let's see, I think that's it. Jeremy Arc Vlogs, shout out to you, Jeremy Arc Vlogs. Hope you're doing well. And shout out again to Keith the Faith. And I think that's going to wrap us up. So I'll see you guys around. Yeah, I hope, you know, I just hope that things don't get, I just hope that we don't have that, we don't end up with more loss of life in these riots. It's hard to watch these things. It started with one tragedy, and I really would hate to see more. Everybody have a great weekend, and I'll see you around on the next segment of Black Spring with Autumn.